So for this exercise, I'm going to begin in a side-lying position, and then I'm going to bring both legs up. Now, this top leg is going to be the leg that's going to be working with this exercise. So this leg is going to come up and extended back. Once I have this position, this is my starting position. Now I'm going to rotate my hip externally, which is like this, and then internally, which is bringing the foot up towards the ceiling. I'm going to try to avoid moving the knee much. The knee stays in place because most of the motion is just coming from my hip. And I'm rotating externally here, and then internally here, while keeping this hip extended. I don't want to use my body much as I do this exercise. This is a compensation. I'm not actually moving as much from my hip as it looks like with this. Keep everything still. Once you have everything still here, this hip's extended, you're just rotating from here and up. And I'll show you a different angle here. So if you're looking at me from this angle, you can see that as my hip is extending, as my hip is extended here, I'm just rotating internally to externally. And I'm going to feel a lot of the hip muscles work, the deep, small hip muscles in there. And I can even put my hand on my pelvis just to make sure I don't move from elsewhere. And this motion is truly coming from my hip.
Okay, so this is a wall ball clam. What I want you to do is you gotta get a med ball set up against the wall in between you and your knee and the wall. You're gonna get it about knee height. You can come down into a squat position. It all depends on how low you wanna get. You can really pick, but have the ball just above your knee. And now what you're going to do is you're going to let this knee rotate in, and you have a band on above your knees, and then rotate out. Really focus on moving from your hip joint here to bring the knee out, go as far as you can, but the entire time you're keeping pressure against the wall to keep the ball in the place it is.
For this exercise, you're going to begin in a side-lying position with the top leg being the leg that you want to work. Then you're going to bring the knees up just a little bit. So the hips are bent a little bit, the knees are bent a little bit. Now, in this position, you're going to have a band wrapped just above the ankles. So keep the band there, and you're going to bring the top foot towards the ceiling while keeping the knees together. So the knees are here, they're not moving at all. The top leg is coming up towards the ceiling. My knee is not bending more, straightening, or my chest is not rotating towards the floor as I do this. I'm keeping everything stacked. Nothing is moving except my hip. So I can even put my hand on my pelvis to make sure nothing else is moving. And then my foot comes up towards the ceiling, and then I slowly rotate back down. This is a slow and controlled movement. You're gonna feel a lot of the muscles deep inside the hip working with this exercise. These are not muscles that are commonly used, but you wanna make sure to be slow and controlled as you do this exercise.
Okay, a couple things with this exercise, similar to the regular modified side plank with a clam. We're gonna have our knees bent around 45-degree angle. And now we're going to have a line from our knees to our elbow, a nice straight line, elbow under our shoulder, palm down. Stay strong through that shoulder blade the entire time. But now we have a band on around the knees. Again, lift your hips up as high as you can. Also push your hips forward. And now you're going to keep your feet together while spreading your knees apart. Really don't let your upper body rotate, as now we have more resistance around the knees, making it easier to undo that. Again, make sure you keep those hips forward and high. Okay, so this is a wall ball clam with a little bit more of an open position, so almost like a 45-degree. So now what we're doing is we have a band on above our knees, we have the ball against the wall, as well as our knee pushing into the ball so that we keep it there or else the ball will drop. Now we're letting this knee come in while keeping our foot flat on the ground, and then we're rotating out from our hip joint, and you'll feel your butt muscles on both sides having to work. This is a nice one just because if you're doing any opening up, any rotating, cutting motions, that's why I have the foot placement the way that I do. This is a burner.
For this exercise, I'm going to begin in the side lying position with my knees up just a little bit. Now, in this position, I'm going to rotate my hip internally, which means my foot is going to come up as my knee stays in place. So my foot is going to go up like this without straightening my knee or bending my knee more. It's going to stay in the same position as the other foot. It's just going to come up towards the ceiling. This motion should be happening from my hip. I shouldn't rotate my body towards the floor here. Everything is staying completely in the same position. It's just my hip moving. If you want, you can even put your hand on your pelvis, your hip pointers here, and allow for just the motion to occur at the hip. Go up as high as you can, and then slowly return. You should feel the muscles deep in the hip working with this exercise. For this exercise, you want to begin in a side lying position. You want to keep your hips together and feet together for the entirety of this exercise. And first thing you want to do is focus on engaging the core. This is done by pushing into this arm, really engage the core, tighten this up. And then from here, you want to focus on bringing the knee up. You can see how my hips stay stacked and my feet stay together. The only thing that moves is my knees. I'm really opening up these knees, creating like a clam, and engaging the glutes back here, holding, squeezing the glutes, and then coming back. You want to avoid cheating by rotating the entire body when you do this. You want to focus on keeping the body stable the entire time, and then just focusing on that leg. That's it. The left leg is the only thing moving for this exercise. And then come back.
So with this exercise, we're performing just a hook-lying clam, holding it isometrically. So get a band on above your knees, get your feet back towards your butt, feet flat on the ground. Your knees can be at relatively 90 degrees. Get your feet set up for what feels comfortable for your knees and your hips. Now you're just going to be pressing out and holding it for time, keeping the bands pushed out as hard as you can. So I'm already starting to feel my hips burning as I've been holding this since we started the video. But what I'm also focused on is not letting my back be super arched. I'm sort of doing a little bit of a tilt, keeping my low back flat, keeping my abs engaged as the outside of my hips are really starting to burn right now. Holding this, not letting my knees come in and kiss one another. Hold it for the time prescribed and let those butt muscles burn.